Well, thanks everyone for having me here today. It's great to be back at Resources Rising Stars. And as I was saying, when I presented last time in May at the Resources Rising Stars in Gold Coast, the uranium price was $54. Now we're sitting at $75 a pound. So look, we're 92 Energy. We listed 2.5 years ago on the premise that the uranium price was going to move and the fundamentals in the market were really stacked up for a prize uranium price movement. And I think that thesis has been proven quite correct. We're exploring for uranium in the Athabasca Basin. We've discovered the Gemini uranium deposit. It's a high-grade, near-surface uranium deposit. It's got a great endowment of uranium already, and we just recently hit a parallel structure, so looking for a repeat of that initial zone there. It's a very, very exciting prospect. It's talked to the uranium price, and it's also talked to the exploration upside here. So it's a fantastic investment proposition for everyone around. Of course, the Athabasca Basin is a Tier 1 uranium mining jurisdiction. It has two of the largest uranium deposits in the world, McArthur River and, of course, Cigar Lake. So it's a fantastic jurisdiction to be operating in. So we are really sitting in the investor sweet spot. We have a market cap of $42 million. As I said, an increasing uranium price. I think this uranium market is far stronger than the last uranium cycle that we saw. There's a real shortage of supply in the uranium market. The Chinese have been going around purchasing up uranium mines and purchasing up uranium supply from the Kazakhs, and there's actually a real shortfall of supply as a result. We, of course, are in the #1 jurisdiction in the world, being the Athabasca Basin, and we have that high-grade uranium discovery. So this was a greenfields discovery we discovered on our 4th drill hole ever as a company. And it was just basically done off the back of some great geology. We looked at the movement of ice, uranium boulders that we had on site, tracked the ice direction. We also had some geochem results in the bog, which were the same grade, frankly, as what's mined in Namibia. So that was a 500 ppm, and we did a VTEM study over the Athabasca Basin, and of course we came up with the Gemini prospect, and a 4th drill hole in hit uranium, and we've been basically hitting uranium ever since. So it's a very, very exciting prospect. We are fully funded and ready to go for the next drill program, and excited to get back out there in the winter when we're able to get back out there and start drilling. So this is the Athabasca Basin. You can see there's plenty of uranium deposits in the Athabasca Basin, and 92 Energy has a great land package there with 10 projects. We've got 3 amazing projects. So Gemini, obviously, with that uranium endowment already, and the Wares uranium occurrence, which is up north. So that is a very, very good prospect as well. It looks very similar to what the Hurricane deposit had as an initial analogy. Hurricane, of course, is the highest grade uranium deposit in the world with an average grade of 20%. So excellent prospect. We've also got our 3rd project, which is Tau, which is only 10 kilometres from Cigar Lake, which is the highest grade uranium mine in the world. So really exciting stuff. And as I said, lots of talk to the uranium price as well. This is what 10% uranium looks like. So just to give you context of what 10% uranium is, it's 100,000 ppm. So if you're looking at those Namibian miners, they're talking about 200 ppm. So if you compare the grades in the Athabasca, there's really no comparison. They're absolutely massive. And we've hit 10% on at the Gemini deposit. What this tells us is there's probably a high-grade zone. So with further drilling, hopefully we'll uncover a super high-grade zone. But what we're already looking at in the Athabasca is 3 times the average grade of what is globally mined in uranium. So really good grades already, with lots of potential to have that super high-grade uranium as well. This is a really exciting chart for someone who's been in the uranium market during the last uranium cycle. So what this tells us is the amount of uranium contracting versus the term price. And you can see that when the uranium contracting starts to increase, that term price also starts to increase. So we're at the very beginning of that cycle there. The term price has been increasing every month along with that spot price, and it's really talked, there's a lot more to go. So there is a real shortfall in supply. What is being produced at the moment in the market is less than the actual demand for uranium, and that secondary supply that we saw, you know, sort of sitting around in the market for a long time has now all been completely soaked up. So the Chinese have been out there purchasing, and it's a real telltale sign when the French president goes over to Kazakhstan to have a conversation with them about their uranium in Kazakhstan as to what is going on in the market here. So you would have heard there was a coup in Niger that has impacted the uranium supply going into Europe. That represents 20% of the uranium going to Europe at the moment. So, as I said, best uranium fundamentals forever, and really this has been driven by our desire to decarbonise the globe. So you hear a lot about, obviously, electric vehicles. Well, this is going to power those electric vehicles. So small modular reactors are really becoming a thing around the world. Everyone's realised, looking at what's going on in Germany, that we need baseload energy, and you can't rely purely on intermittent renewable energy. So this is why there's really been such a long-term increase in uranium, and this is also hitting at that stage where supply is really having an issue as well. So this is what our zone looks like. We've got 42 metres of 0.62% in there. That, just to give you context, was the 8th best uranium intercept drilled globally last year. So very, very high grades. As I said, it's consistent across the ore body. We've got some really nice grades and thick intercepts of uranium happening. That's the first zone that we've drilled, and you can see here that zone is in the red marked out area. This parallel structure that we're looking at is that area that runs alongside to the east. So about 300 metres east, we've hit uranium, and we've hit some really good copper as well. So there's copper associated with this uranium. The hydrothermal alteration is really intense. It's enough to make any geologist cry when they see it. It was beautiful when it came out of the hole. We've got uranium pathfinders and other metals moving through this system, which shows that it's a really fertile system. And this is what Rabbit Lake looks like. So on the left here, you can see the Rabbit Lake deposit has two parallel structures with two deposits sitting inside. This is our theory with Gemini, and of course that theory is coming to fruition at the moment with that drilling of that parallel structure, which is mineralised with 0.2% uranium. So really exciting. There's 600 metres of strike. Just to give you context, these uranium deposits, because they're so high grade, tend to be super small in footprint. And for example, MacArthur River, I think, is only 200 by 100 metres in terms of its footprint. So 600 metre strike is actually a very long strike for this sort of uranium deposit. And this, of course, here is what this alteration looks like that everyone is raving about on site. It's really quite beautiful. If you're a geologist in there, it'll excite you a lot when you see this. But one of the big stories here is also that these deposits come in trends. So there's super high-grade deposit, the Arrow deposit and the Triple R deposit. They're all on the same trend called the Patterson Lake Corridor. There's a Collins Bay trend. These all host like 500 million pounds of uranium each on these trends. And what we have discovered is a brand new trend in the Athabasca Basin. So we're at the very beginning of a 14-kilometre trend. There's absolutely huge potential upside along that trend, and it'll be really exciting to get out there and drill it. And this just demonstrates what that trend looks like. We've got some nice targets along the trend based on the geophysics. And as I said, it's a very exciting prospect. But not only that, the property is huge. So we went and did some prospecting during the summer drill program. We found more uranium boulders there. They had 0.39% uranium. Of course, many a uranium deposit has been discovered off the basis of uranium boulders. You track it back up ice. That, of course, is how we initially discovered the GMZ. Key Lake was discovered, many, many other uranium deposits. So this is exciting stuff. It really goes to show the whole fertility of the Gemini project that we've got. So what are our next steps? Well, ground geophysics, where we're going to be running a program over the GMZ and the parallel structure to assist with our targeting. And also we're going to be going back out there and drilling again very shortly. So we're excited to get back out there. There's really, as I said, lots of potential upside from this project. This is just a little bit about our WARES project. As I said, this was an amazing project that our geologists picked up. We basically staked this project for a very, very little amount of money and purchased the southern part of it as well for, it was a very small amount of money. But anyway, this is a fantastic prospect. The WARES uranium occurrence is here. It's basically uranium at the unconformity. This is an unconformity targeted uranium deposit. And as I said, the conditions for this are very similar to that upon which Rough Rider deposits and the Hurricane deposit were found. So a swarm of conductors coming down to it, and of course that uranium on the unconformity. So this is very exciting for us and has lots of potential too. And this is, again, Tower project, 10 kilometres from Cigar Lake. Once again, we hit uranium on our first drill program here. We have a habit at 92 Energy of hitting uranium on our first drill programs of projects. So hopefully that will continue going forward. Just a little bit about us, corporate snapshot. Our major shareholder is ISO Energy, who of course is a part of the stable of the NextGen, which owns probably the best undeveloped uranium asset in the world called Arrow. So they're a 10% shareholder. Sasham Cove is in there as well for almost 5%. They're one of the big uranium funds in the market. And of course we have $6.2 million in cash, so well cashed up to continue drilling and have lots of exploration success from that. And of course our board. So I'm ex-Extract Resources. Extract, of course, discovered the Husab uranium deposit. It was sold to the Chinese for $2.2 billion during the last uranium cycle, and I was a key part in that sale process. I was company secretary, corporate affairs. So I've been around in both cycles and understand the cycles well. Steve Blower, of course, discovered that high-grade uranium discovery, the Hurricane deposit, which is the highest grade deposit in the world. He's on our board. He's technically brilliant and been responsible for many a discovery. And, of course, the rest of our board has been heavily involved in the uranium in many different aspects over the years. Sadar has just joined us from Denison. He was there with Denison for 17 and a half years. So he's a crucial new link as our VP of Exploration. And just quickly, here's all the value. So if you compare us to early stage discoveries of TSX listed companies, you know, we're very undervalued, I think, and I think there's lots of exploration upside and potential in the share price going forward. So in summary, we're in the investor sweet spot with a market cap of $42 million. We have a high-grade basement-hosted discovery with plenty of potential upside, an amazing uranium price outlook. I think this is just going to go up and up and up, and a GMZ discovery with all that upside fully funded for the next drill program. Thanks very much.